invite Ruth Olowosile, who is one of the active speaker for the conference, and she is Lagos portal curator, which is for Museum for the United Nations, and executive director for SZE initiative and head of programs and sustainability and ANGA, and also sustainability and social impact expert. So she's going to give a talk on personal development and transformational self-discovery for sustainable impact. Now I'm gonna share the presentation at this moment. Yeah. So Ruth, I will split the slides and you can proceed for the speaker presentation at this moment.
Okay. I can't see this. I can see your screen, but not the slides yet. Okay. While I wait for that, I'll just go ahead. Hi, everyone. My name is Ruth, and I'm excited to be here. And it is a pleasure to meet everyone. I can see it now. Thank you.
You are able to see the screen, yeah? Fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to meet everyone. I've had an amazing time learning from each and every one of you. And I'm just going to go straight to the point. I'm going to be talking about personal development and transformational self-discovery for sustainable impact. And I'm just going to start with like a really personal story. So I have a 16-month-old boy. And a couple of days ago, I was on a trip and my flight was about to take off. You know how it is when a flight's about to take off. And, you know, I've been thinking over the past couple of months, actually, that, you know, some people, if you're a Christian, some people say, before you give birth to a child, you should know, you should have asked God what the child would become, and things like that, so that you're able to direct the child properly and all of that. And I've been a bit, this is funny, but I've been a bit, maybe not so worried, but, thinking about it for a bit of time. How do I know, what this boy is supposed to do or supposed to be? I mean, I know that I'm not supposed to tell him what to do, but it will help to have like an inkling of what he's supposed to do so that I'm able to guide him or direct him properly, And so all of a sudden, it just occurred to me as the flight was taking off that this is my son. This is what he's supposed to do. I mean, it was just like an eureka moment. It was just like clarity, all at once. I just felt like this is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to fly, he's supposed to soar. I mean, I don't know how he's going to do that. I'm not saying he'll be a pilot, but I just felt that it was something in line with that, obviously, or apparently because of the type of hobbies he's had, the things he likes to do and all of that. Don't worry, stay with me. I'm going somewhere. So I'm going to tell you how this relates to what I'm going to talk about, which is personal development and transformational self-discovery. So you can go to the next slide, Kirsty. So I'm just going to ask us to do like a quick exercise. Yeah. We have categories of women here, and I'm sure we belong to one of these 7 categories. Perhaps you even belong to like 2 out of the 7, maybe even 3. But it might be best to stick to the 2 that you can, you can key on immediately. So for me, for instance, right now I'm trying to actually balance my work life. And of course, goal-driven. Sometime 2 years ago, I would say that I was a self-aware explorer because I was still trying to understand. I was still exploring and trying to get, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? So this 7, you would fall into 1 or 2 of this: emerging leader or a seasoned leader, or you're transitioning in your career, you want to transition, or you're wondering how to balance your work life, or you have a lot of goals that you're trying to achieve right now, or you're a leader already and you have had experience with change and resilience, or you're trying to explore, you don't really know what you want to do next, or if you are where you're supposed to be. So you're still trying to be aware and to explore. So which category do we belong to? It would be very nice to either write this down or maybe even share with us in the chat. Please go to the next slide. So now this is what I'm going to be talking about real quick. I'm not going to be going like in depth because this is a lot, but I'm just going to be touching on each of this. We're going to understand the power of personal development. Of course, I'm sure we all know the power of personal development, but we'll just touch on it again. And we'll talk about cultivating a growth mindset and unleashing your authentic self, and then enhancing emotional intelligence. I feel like this is like very important for women especially, while managing change and resilience. Next slide, please. And we're also going to be talking about living a purpose-driven life while balancing work and life. Very important for women as well. And personal development roadmap. I'm just going to touch on that very briefly. Next slide, please. So you've already met me. My name is Ruth Olowosile, and I'm a sustainability and social impact expert. I like to say that my key word or my brand name is Rooting for Impact, because I'm just all about impact. And in my career as a social entrepreneur, I've reached an average of 2 million people. That would be like astounding, but I've been volunteering since I was in since I was in college, and I've done a lot of things, been a part of a lot of organizations and all of that. I like to have I won't say I like to have, but I guess it just comes naturally to me to be innovative and creative in my approach to impact, and not just in a general way or the usual way, which is what I do at the Museum for the United Nations. And of course, social impact is what we do at Sustainable Environment Initiative and the African Network of Green Ambassadors. So if you want to know more about all of that, you can just go to my LinkedIn profile. But I'm just trying to give you like a background of where I'm coming from. And then I'm just going to talk about a friend of mine. She's just a new friend. Like I just met her like last week. And this friend of mine, she came for a program or a session rather at the Lagos portal, the Museum for the United Nations, along with some of our teammates. And while we were having the conversation and we got talking, she said, "Oh, I realized that we're about 4 females." And she said, "Oh, I realized that all females here are married except me." And she said, "For some reason, I thought when I'm married, I won't be able to pursue the things I want to pursue. And so I've been reluctant." And then we all laughed and said, "Oh, okay, there's like a whole lot of," we try to educate her. That was what I'm trying to say. But what am I trying to say here? It shows that like we're all in the process of learning. We are always in the process of learning. And the truth is, just when you think you've got it all figured out, life throws you a curveball, and then you have to go back to the drawing table and figure it out again. And this is why it's very important to go back to the drawing table from time to time. This is an exercise that I've carried out over time. I have tried this with a lot of people that I mentor or that have reached out to me that I've worked with, and it has worked for them as well. And I'm going to mention now that journaling is very important. If you don't do that yet, you should probably do that. Now life is easy with technology, so you can do that on your phone or on your laptop, or you can even have like a paper journal or a diary for that. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to say, according to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor 2021 Women's Entrepreneurship Report, women entrepreneurs represent 33%. Just 33% upon all we are doing of the global entrepreneurship activity. I'm sure it's more than that by now. And this is where I'm going to. And they tend to create businesses with a strong social and environmental impact focus. Now, this is because I think one of the speakers I spoke earlier talked about ego and the fact that everyone had an ego, man or woman. And I could key into that because we always tend to say that men are logical and women are emotional. I mean, of course, that's true. But the truth is that with tapping into yourself and with emotional intelligence and a whole lot of personal development, the women who get up there, who are in key positions, who, become sustainable business leaders, board leaders, and all of that, they are able to balance their emotional side with their logical side. And that's why you find most businesses that women are heading are more even more profitable than the one that men are heading, because men tend to be logical, like it's all in the head. But women tend to know how to balance, if you know how to balance it anyways, the heart and the head, it gives you a leverage. This is why it's important for us to, I mean, I just feel like women are not, we're not tapping into ourselves enough, you know. I know that life often deals with us. And so a couple of years ago, I was a new mom. I was a new mom, and I knew that I wanted to, you know, work in a non-profit. I knew that I wanted to make an impact. I knew that, I mean, I didn't know how to define it at the time, but I just knew that that was what I loved to do. But I had absolutely no idea how to go about it. And plus the fact that I was a new mom and I was still trying to navigate that, you know, so everything was just jumbled up. And it gets to a point, I've seen that happen time and time again, that a woman will just give up and say, look, let me just take care of my children and take care of my family, you know, or let me just go with the flow and see what happens. You know, you tend to relax. The problem with relaxing is that when you relax, you get comfortable in relaxing, and then that's it. That's it. At the end of a couple of years, you wonder where to pick it up from. And so that's why it's best not to relax. I mean, it's good to relax, but it's best not to relax too much. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to be also asking us to take this poll right now. I know that according to where we are right now in our career or in our personal, professional goals, business goals, there are some areas of personal development that we feel like we need to work on, that we need to scale. For some of us, it's leadership and career advancement. Some of us are looking to go to, you know, management positions. For some of us, it's entrepreneurship. We're trying to maybe delve into entrepreneurship or learn more about it, and business goals. For some of us, it is goal setting and tracking progress. We are just not so good with that. And for some of us, it is emotional intelligence and resilience. And I think that not enough is being said about this. Even though women have more capacity to actually have like emotional, or to develop emotional intelligence. For some of us, it is authenticity and self-exploration. We're just so used to going with the flow. We're just so used to, you know, sticking what life gives to us, and, you know, just surviving. And so we have lost ourselves. We have even forgotten who we are or who we were meant to be. And for some of us, it is self-reflection and self-awareness. And for some of us, we just want to make impacts. We want to leave an impact on the world. We want to do something for the society, for the nation, or for the community. So which of these areas do you find yourself right now? It's good to note this down, because that will help you to know what next to do. Because I mean, I feel like everyone reaches a plateau in their lives, and gets to the stage where you think, oh, okay, so what's next? You know, I don't know if anyone has ever experienced that. I'm sure you have. You know, you're trying to pursue a goal, and then it gets to a stage, you reach that goal, and then you're like, okay, you've run out of adrenaline, and you're like, okay, what's next? You know, I don't even know the next step, because I mean that you reach a plateau, it happens. That's life. Thank you, Dr. Genevieve. This is so encouraging. So that's why it's important to have so for me, because I usually keep a lot of papers and books when I was younger, I tend to have like both books and digital. So now I use my Google Drive. Thank God that there's technology. So I use my Google Drive and I keep updating it. I add more sheets, I add more notes. In the next 1 year, 2 years, I go back to these notes. So anytime I feel like I think I'm getting confused, or I don't know what's the next step to take, I go back to my notes. I go back to those things that I've written before, and I go and review them. Automatically, I get clarity on what to do next, because really the journey continues until we're in the grave, right? Next slide, please. So I'm just going to be talking to us about how we can harness our power, our natural power, God-given power as women, into our personal development, into self-discovery, and then making this impact on our society, on our community, on our family. And I'm always saying this, whether you like it or not, everything you do reflects on, I mean, it has an impact on your family. So now, coming to personal development, the power of personal development is such that if you're actively, I always say that there's passive and active integration. So it gets to some point you're like passive about personal development. You know, you're just doing it as it comes to you, but it gets to some point that you are active about it because you have a goal, you're trying to pursue something. But it helps you to unleash your potential for sustainable impact if you are able to actively integrate it. So either you are passive at any point or you are active. As long as when you are passive, you know that you are passive right now. But it doesn't mean that in the next couple of months, you are not going to become active again. You have a target, you have a goal that you're working towards, right? So it helps you to give back to the world positive impact, sustainable impact. I often get a lot of women approach me and say, "Oh, how do you do what you do? I want to volunteer, or I want to make a difference. How do I go? I have no idea how to go about it." And I always say that, look, how are you impacting your family? What are they taking away from your life? I mean, you just have to start from there, because before you expect the community, or you expect your followers on LinkedIn or on social media to look up to you as a mentor, or to look up to you as someone who is making an impact in their lives, then you have to have started with those that are like around you, that you're sleeping and waking up with. When I was in school, I used to go and visit my uncle. I had two uncles then. And so I'll go to their home, I'll visit them. And one of my uncles had one child, a boy. Yes, charity begins at home. And the other one had two boys. Every time I went to their house, even if it was for one day, I would come there and say, "Look, don't give me any work. I'm just here to relax, like I'm so stressed out." But I'll still go with my laptop and my books. And so they will always tell me, "Look, you're saying you're coming to relax, and I still come with your book and your laptop." Ultimately, I'll still sleep with my book and my laptop. I didn't know that these children, as at this time, they were just about, the youngest of them was just about 2 years old or thereabouts. And I didn't know they were watching me. So every time I come, they will go and carry their book too. And it got to a point when I come, they would give me their book and say, "Look, this is our assignment, this is what we're giving. Can you do it for us?" And even their parents would say, "Look, we've been here with you, you're not asking us." So because Ruth is here now, we're asking her. Till today, this impact remains with them. It remained with them. My younger sister, she was not a reader. She didn't really care for much except playing. But because I started reading, I read anything. I can say that I even need to curb my reading, because sometimes I feel like too much information. So she started reading because of me, because she saw me reading. So what am I trying to say? It begins with your home, those around you. It begins with even your husband or your parents, yes, even your children. It begins with all of these people before you can say that you want to reach out and throw it out there, throw it open. So how are you developing yourself personally? I mean, I've talked about reading. Reading is part of it. Even learning is part of it, right? I take courses from time to time. We attend conferences like this, not just because we want to network or because we want to say that we attended the conference, but because we want to learn as well. I've learned a lot in the past few hours today, right? So all of these things are the things that we should, next slide please, all of these things are the things that we should put in place, that we should write down. How are you going to follow this process so that you can then cultivate a growth mindset? Look, if you are saying that you want to make impact, sustainable impact now, because now if you want to, like I said, it begins at home. Now you want to put it out there. You want others to be impacted as well. You cannot continue to pour from a half empty cup. I won't say half full, because if it's halfway, you should just look at it's half empty. If you keep pouring from that cup without refilling it, you are going to burn out eventually. You are going to burn out eventually. And unfortunately, giving out or having an impact is emotional. It's emotional. You just can't take out that part of the emotional part, the mental part. So you'll be mentally stressed. You drawn out mentally. You drawn out of whatever it is you're giving out. And so it is important that your mindset changes. If you don't embrace a mindset that helps you to continue learning, that helps you to continue growing, that helps you to be flexible. So when you set those goals, next slide please, when you set those goals, you have to ensure that you are flexible as well. It's not that you want to sit down with those goals and say, okay, no, this was my goal for 2023. I know that they are saying that tech is the next best thing. I know my husband is saying let's travel out, or I know that it feels like my workplace, they're not really giving me what I want, but I have to focus on this goal. No, I'm not saying you shouldn't focus on the goal, but at the same time, you have to learn. Like I said, continuous learning helps you so that you're able to shape your goal in a better way. You're able to make it even more effective. It may take you a couple more years. But like I said, even when you reach that goal, you are going to wonder what you were pursuing in the first place and what next to do. So it's better for you, if whatever you're going to do it well. Next slide, please. So now the next thing we're going to talk about is unleashing your authentic self. Now, as women, we often give, like I said, a lot of ourselves, and eventually we put our own feelings, we put our own dreams, our own desires and thoughts on the back burner so that we can cater for our family or our children, our friends. That's what we do. That's what we were created to do. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're authentic selves, because like I said, it's only in this way that you can have fulfillment even in yourself, because you can't continue to say, oh, let me put my own dreams on the back burner. It gets to a point that you start becoming this word is escaping me, but you start becoming you start getting angry. You start getting angry. The children that are trying to put your dreams on the back burner for, you start getting angry at them because you're not fulfilled, because you're feeling frustrated. And you are also, your personal and professional life will be impacted. So you have to make sure that in everything that you do, you remain your authentic self. That means you have to know who you are. Next slide, please. That means you have to know who you are at the core. Who are you at the core? I often say this, that for those of us that are in social impact, I mean, as a career, that social entrepreneurs, and even a woman, what makes a woman lose herself, what makes social entrepreneurs lose themselves is if they are trying to emulate other. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a mentor, but at the same time, you should not forget who you are at the core. Who you are at the core is what remains when every other thing, when every other thing is shaping out by life, when life hits you, when life throws you a curveball, through up the ups and downs, is who you are at the core that remains. So if you lose that, then, I mean, where do you start from? Now, emotional intelligence is also very important because, like I said, because women often go through lots of changes in their lives. I mean, at some point, they're thinking, I want to get married. Maybe you're not even getting married early. That's bothering you. And so you're thinking, maybe I should slow down my career. And at some point, maybe you're married and you're thinking, I need to have a child. Or is it because I'm too ambitious? Is that why I'm not having a child? All of these things, they bring a lot of difficulties to women. I mean, at the same time, even when you have children, your children are growing. There are just lots of stages. It gets to a point, you get to menopause. That's another stage again. And so to be able to manage all of these stages so that you don't lose who you are at the core, and you continue to have impact on those around you, on a community as you want, then emotional intelligence is key. It is a very powerful tool. This is a skill that has to be developed. And it helps you to effectively communicate with others. It helps you to lead change with empathy. Somebody has talked about empathy today. Empathy is very, very important. But emotional intelligence will help you to know when to harness empathy, when to use empathy. And it will help you to know when to be logical, when to put your heart aside and just use your head, right? Next slide, please. And so living a purpose-driven life means that you're balancing work and life in all of these ones that I've said. If you say you want to have a very sound personal life, you want to live a fulfilled life, then that means you want to balance work, you want to balance life effectively. I mean, this means that you have to take deliberate efforts. Nothing falls in your lap in your professional life, right? Nothing falls in your life in your lap in your business. In your personal life, so nothing will fall in your lap. We have to be deliberate about taking vacations, about taking breaks. We have to be deliberate when you are off work, you are off work. You have to set up, that's why learning is important. You have to set up systems that will help you so that when you are on vacation, your business is still running, or your job is still secure. So what are these things that you can put in place? I mean, I can't tell you because it depends on your career, it depends on your business, it depends on your family, it depends on your situation. So it's left to you to come there, to come to the drawing table and say, how do I balance my work life? If you don't put systems in place, then I'm sorry, everything is just going to keep coming down. You just keep getting overwhelmed and frustrated. Next slide, please. And so I'm going to tell you again about developing your own roadmap. There's a link here, but I'm going to share the link maybe on the WhatsApp. I'll ask Katie to share it after. I think I need to check out that that link is still active. You can have a personalized, I mean, this one doesn't mean you have to download it. You can do this yourself. You can have a roadmap for yourself. How do I want to develop myself? Now, when you want to do this, let me tell you the questions that you should answer. You can do this in your journal. What are the questions that you should answer? What were your teenage hobbies? What were your childhood hobbies? What were your teenage hobbies? What are your hobbies now? Now, that's one. Now, what were your childhood dreams? What were your teenage dreams? And now, what are your dreams right now? That is another one. What made these dreams change? Because if you write these things out, you find out that they have changed, they have evolved, or they have changed completely. You need to think about it. What made these things change? And then you write that out. And then you also look at, how can I then balance this? How can I, bring in the person that I wanted to be when I was young and this person that I am right now? How can I create a balance? And then how can I make it so that I have a purpose that makes me fulfilled? I'm not just living without having a purpose, or the purpose I've set for myself, I'm not really fulfilled with it. This is how you can develop a purpose that makes you live a fulfilled life. And then you will set smart goals that will help you fulfill this purpose. Break down your goals into, just highlight everything, for instance, that you need to do. All those things you need to do. Like, I need to learn. I need to go for my master's, or I need to go for a PhD. I need to do a course in this and this. I need to get a mentor in this and this. I need to, whatever it is you need to do. I need to develop a emotional intelligence skill. And whatever it is you need to do, list them out and then put them in a timeline per month. For instance, this is, what month are we now? We're in April. This is not too late yet. Per month, April, write out, how are you going to break? Now, make them realistic. I always say, be honest with yourself. Make them realistic, because if they are not realistic enough, you are just going to be burning yourself out and you'll be frustrated eventually. So make them realistic, break them down into months, and then go for a long-term vision. First of all, do a summary. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. Just do a summary first, and then break it down again into years. What do I want to achieve this year? What is my long-term vision for next year? You can even start, you can do it from the bottom up, and you can do it from the top down, whichever one works. It depends on how these things occur to you. Put these things down in your journal. You can even transfer it, like I said, to your Drive or to your Dropbox. And then from time to time, go back and review them. Go back and review them. All of these are proven, and they will help you to live a sustainable, impactful life, not just in your profession, not just in your career, but even for your family, for your business. Let me quickly wrap up with this. Next slide. I think I'm already towards the end of my slide. So let me quickly wrap up with this story. A couple of days ago, I was just thinking, how did I get here? I'm a very introspective person, and I think I'm very critical as well. So I was thinking, how did I get to this stage? How did I get to where I am now? And then I started listing them out. And I remembered something all of a sudden. I was saying that I've been volunteering since, I think, right after college. In Nigeria, there's something called NYSC. So when I went to serve, that was where I got like organizations to volunteer for. I was on radio shows, I was on a host on different radio shows and all of that. And that was where I discovered that, look, this is what I'm meant to do, but I now realized all of a sudden that I have had an interest in making impact and being a social entrepreneur since when I was young. I was around 12 years old when someone bought me a book, and that book was called, the title of that book is In His Steps. I can't remember the writer right now. I think Charles, I'm going to check that. Charles something, I can't remember. In His Steps is a book that outlines like how some particular people that are outlined in that book, how they follow Jesus with their steps, with their actions. I loved that book. I read it from cover to cover. I took it when I was going to university. And when I got to university, unfortunately, in my second year or thereabout, I lent I lent it to a friend. He borrowed it, and unfortunately, he borrowed someone else again, and it got lost. I was so pained because I loved that book. I had to go and get the e-copy, and then I keep reading, and I realized that was when my love for social impact had started, but I just didn't realize it. So you see why it's important for you to go back to who you are, to your childhood, and to think back on your past, think back on your history, forgive yourself, forgive the people in your past, and then come back to your present and map out your future. So it's time to go out and leave an indelible impact on the world. Thank you for learning with me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Ruth Olowosile. So thank you very much. If there are questions, I can take them now.